Hare Krishna, all senior devotees and assembled senior Vaishnavas. And thank you very much, Rajesh Prabhuji, for facilitating this session, and Sri Gaur Prabhuji for providing this opportunity and the guidance all the time to progress systematically in this path of Krishna consciousness. To tell you the truth, as per my situation, I am the least eligible to deliver on this particular subject matter. However, what my thought process currently in my mind is, because of the compassion of the great Vaishnavas and the compassion of Guru Parampara, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada, they forced me to get to this place and speak whatever little I know about my practices, what I have been doing for last 4 years. And thank you very much for this opportunity given by Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. Jai Shri Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So this Japa Talk, whatever I composed today, it is accumulation of some of the Japa Talks what I heard from the senior devotees. And then there is a book Sri Gaur Prabhuji has mentioned to study, which is on Japa, written by His Holiness Burjan Prabhu. And I have heard some of the Japa talks of His Holiness Radhesham Prabhuji. So whatever I could pick, I just wanted to humbly put in front of you. And anything which is useful, it is all grace of Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. And if anything is not useful, it is because of my ignorance. Please excuse me for any of the mistakes in delivering this talk. So we know, all of us, all of you are very senior devotees, and all of you are aware what is the problem statement, the root cause of our transmigration of the soul. So the problem statement is, we were living with Krishna eternally in the spiritual world before we first time came to this material world. Once we started associating with this material world, we have the long association with these three modes over so million births. As in Bhagavad Gita 13.22 says, Purusha Prakritisto hi bhunte prakriti jangunan karanam guna sangosya sad asadyonis janmasu. So once we come onto this material existence, because of our desire to enjoy independent of Krishna, we lost all that connection with Krishna, and then we also lost that relationship, whatever our Swarupa. We forgot everything and we started enjoying independently. And also we have the association with these three modes of material nature, which these three modes, whichever are part of the material nature, acts on us. These are subtle forces, and they will make us to act in one or other three modes. And whenever we act in three modes, there is always a reaction, and these action reaction chain continues, and then we got stuck in this material world. So our prime goal is to get out of this material existence. But how do we do that? Because as long as we take this body, it is really impossible without taking the strong spiritual path. So what is that spiritual path? So the Bhagavad Gita has summarized, Supreme Lord Sri Krishna summarized many spiritual paths. But out of that, the most profound and most easy for even the people who are in the starting in the mode of ignorance, that path is practicing Ananya Bhakti. So the solution, which is mentioned in the Bruhad Naradiya Purana, it is Harinnama, Harinnama, Harinnamaiva Kevalam, Kalau Nastieva, Nastieva, Nastieva Gatir Anyata. For the mentality of the people at the age of Kali, who are, short-sighted and less fortune, less intelligent, and cannot focus on anything, and always distracting and running behind the material things, the only way is taking the Harinam and chanting the Harinam. This is also mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Bhakti Vedanta Prabhupada. So, but the point is like this Harinam, um, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given this Harinam very compassionately for all of us, and not irrespective of the caste and religion. With lot of love, he has distributed this Harinam all over the world. But the problem is, how do we progress taking this Harinam forward in our spiritual life? So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu not only gave the recipe, but kindly he has given a great benediction by composing Chaitanya Siddhastakam, which is, according to my understanding, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has composed only this one, and rest of the things were done by his disciplic succession. But according to me, I keep it at the highest among all the spiritual literatures. So, what is so unique about Chaitanya Satyastakam? Cheto Dappanamarjanam Bhavamahadavagni Nirvapanam Sreyah Kairavachandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jeevanam Anandambudivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrutaswadanam Sarvatmasnapanam Paramavijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. The uniqueness of Chaitanya Siddhastakam is, in the first verse, in the entry verse itself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu declared the entire essence of bhakti. So he said, whoever chants the holy name, they will be all victorious, and there are 7 benefits out of it. And I know all of you are aware of that 7 benefits, starting from clearing the material dust all the way to the jiva taking bath in that Anandambudhi. So there are 7 benedictions and 7 benefits of this particular chanting of the holy name. So Mahaprabhu has not only given this prescription, just chant the holy name. It is not like that. But when he has, looks like if anybody tries to study deeply, he has done great research and arranged it in so systematically. As we start progressing, as we start practicing these verses with the instructions and taking the holy name, it will allow us to gradually move from the stage of among the stages of bhakti, starting from the faith, the shraddha, all the way to the prema. So while we take the instructions of Mahaprabhu and start practicing, in the Bhajan Rahasya book by Srila Bhaktivinoda Tagore, he mentioned that it will blossom our bhakti from the state of Shraddha all the way to the state of Prema. And also he mentioned that systematically it will eliminate our avidya, of false conception of identifying ourselves with the body, by forgetting our true eternal identity as Jivhare Swarup Hoy Nitya Krishna Das. So just to give the glimpse of few verses, I will not go through the verses in the interest of time. So Bhaktivinoda Tagore mentioned that the verse 1 will help us to attain the Shraddha. So the first verse will instill the faith, and then once we take the instructions and practice Harinam, then we will gain more and more faith on the holy name. The second verse, it mainly talks about the Krishna consciousness practices, how they remove the material dust that is accumulated, and then how the anardha nivruti happens. So the second verse is about anardha nivruti, and the third verse is about the nistha, that is like fixing our devotion on Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And the fourth verse is about the ruchi, the taste, attaining the taste, which is like Nadhanam na sundarim kavitam va jagati shakamaye. So the important thing is, it is not that when we are practicing one stage, one verse, you will be attain perfection in that. And when you move to the next, it's not that it focuses on only on the second stage of bhakti. There is a feedback from the previous stage of the verse to the next stage of the verse. So what it means is, when you go to the last verse, which is about prema, bhava and prema. So when we go to the last verse, we would have attained the perfection on all the 7 verses. But when you are practicing the last verse, you will attain more perfection of the previous stages also. For example, if we attain the ruchi, the taste for the chanting, then it means that your faith also will become multifolded and we will be able to chant even better. So there is a feedback from the previous stage, from the next stage to the previous stage. It is not that we uh, attain perfection in isolation when we do the practice of one verse and move to the next one. It is not like that. So every next verse, and like say the fourth verse, fifth verse, it is inclusive of all the previous 4 stages, and then there is a cumulative increase on our bhakti when we progressively move through that. So the goal is, it is mentioned in the same book. The goal is, the final goal by practicing this is to attain the ultimate love of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So the definition for that love is always given by our acharyas and all, is the love of the gopis. And when they were in separation during the rasa dance, when Krishna disappeared, the love should be the similar to what the gopis had for Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. So when Sri Krishna disappeared during the rasa dance in the 10th canto, so they have exhibited all these 8 stages of bhakti, and like with madness, they searched for Supreme Lord, and they called everywhere saying that, "O Govinda, O Damodara, O Madhava." So shamelessly he searched everywhere without thinking what others will be feeling about them. So that is the pinnacle of bhakti we all should attain. So this is the goal of the Siddhastakam. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, first chapter, verse number 11 says, this is the instruction given by Sukadev Goswami to King Parikshit. He said, like, "O king, constant chanting of holy name of the Lord after the ways of the great authorities is the doubtless and fearless way of success for all, including those who are free from material desires, those who are desirous of material enjoyment, and who are satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge." This particular instruction is given by Sutta Goswami, Sukadev Goswami, to Parikshit Maharaj, just to instill faith in him about the holy name. And then Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said that among Navaveda Bhakti, we know that the first 3 limbs are very important, which starts from hearing, which is like, then the chanting, and then the remembering of the holy name. So we have to be in constant remembrance of the holy name. And when we remember that for longer time, it is almost like the state of samadhi. Means, if it, like in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna said, "Satatam kirtayanto mam." If we attain that state, it is almost like the state of samadhi. And out of all that, it was mentioned the chanting of holy name and qualities of Supreme Lord and his pastimes, it is superior. And among these, the most superior thing is Anukirtanam, that is continuous chanting of Lord names according to their individual's own stage of bhakti. And Srila Prabhupada further instilled confidence by taking it next level. He kept it very simple, but I found that it is very profound. So he said that this is the advantage of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. One may be put into any condition, but gives him prerogative to chant Hare Krishna in any condition of life. If anyone goes on chanting, he will never be unhappy. So this is our spiritual master Srila Prabhupada, the kind of confidence instilled on the neophyte devotees like me. And Srila Prabhupada also, in one of his Japa talks, further quoted two verses, one from Padma Puran, one from Ajamila's story. So in the verse in Padma Puran goes like this: Naham tishtanti vaikunta yoginam hrudyeshu va yatra gayanti madbhakta tatra tishtami narada. And similarly, in Bhagavad Gita, Supreme Lord Sri Krishna said, Matchitta madgata prana bodhayam ta parasparam kadayam taschamam nityam tushyam ticharamanticha. So, how the people in the pure consciousness, Krishna consciousness, will be delighted and will be exchanging the glories of Lord, and how they mutually enlighten each other and all the time singing the glories. In such places, it is like Prabhupada mentioned that my dear, this is verse from Padma Purana. It is mentioned that, my dear Narada, I do not dwell in Vaikunta or in the hearts of yogi. I remain wherever my devotees sing glories. It is similar to the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita, that is the verse number 10.9. And Prabhupada again further assures that when we do the offenseless chanting and with the full surrender, Krishna comes on tongue. When Krishna comes on tongue, that means we are staying in Vaikuntha or we are staying in Goloka. So see the kind of, the confidence and the faith Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada instilled in a neophyte devotees, even neophyte devotees. And in Ajamila's story, we all know Ajamila accidentally and out of fear, he called his son's name as Narayan at the verge of death. And that's like almost, Prabhupada says that it's almost like a neglectful chanting. Even then, he attained the Godhead. So, what to talk about the people, the devotees who are faithfully chanting by following rules and regulative principles without any offenses. So, the love of it, this itself gives lot of confidence for the neophyte devotees like me, that the love of Godhead is assured on some day in some, if not in this life, even in the next life. So we have a verse in Bhagavad Gita saying that it instills a lot of confidence for neophyte devotees. Nehabhikramanashosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. So anybody taken this path of the devotional service, they need not to worry whether if I stop it in the middle, what will happen. So that particular verse clear all anxieties, saying that if you take a little bit of devotional service to Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, and due to any circumstances you end up in not fulfilling the devotional service in this birth, not to worry. There is no defect or there is no sin will incur like the material activities. If they are unfulfilled, then there is no benefit. So whatever the spiritual credits or whatever, the dust that is removed in this particular birth. So there is a lot of material dust accumulated because of millions of births we have been associated with these three modes. So all these dust, if even some of the dust is removed, then our spiritual journey starts from that particular place, that particular state in the next birth, and it gradually moves on from 5% to 10% to 100% until we attain the ultimate love of Godhead, Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So, in the second verse of Chastakam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, even though, he explained the reason why we don't have taste, even though all the potency is invested in the holy name from Kalisantarena Upanishad, that Hare Krishna Mahamantra, but the reason why we will not have any taste is because of our avidya, especially false identification, false conception of our true identity, identifying ourselves, everything with body and everything associated with the body. Even though there are millions of names of Lord which we can always chant and sing the glories using those names, and the approach is very easy, but because of this particular avidya, we are lack of taste. And in the book it is explained the four reasons, at least I wanted to touch upon quickly on that. So the first one is Tattva Vibhramaha. Tattva Vibhramaha means not having the right philosophy, don't have the right realization, or don't have the right knowledge about our own self. That is like what is our eternal identity, and not knowing about the Krishna, and not knowing what is at least superficially we don't even fully aware that there is a relation with the Supreme Lord, and we have Swarupa, like Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, their Swarupa is Jai Vijaya. So until we realize that Swarupa by the spiritual practice, then we at least we have to understand, having that level of understanding, if not the realization that we have a Swarupa, and we should never give up our practice until we realize what is that Swarupa, whatever it may take, if one birth or million births. So, and the second reason was it was given asat trishna, means running behind the temporary things like material desires, full of material desires, full of sense enjoyment, and trying to get mystic power for controlling the material activity. And the last one, which I liked so much from this, is desire from liberation, desire for liberation. This is not the true love on Godhead, or this is not, for the pleasure of Krishna. This desire for liberation is to be freed up from the sufferings, which is totally, it is not spiritual. In fact, it is so selfish. So it has to be avoided. And the third cause, which was mentioned in the book, it is attachment to the objects which are unrelated to Krishna. And among them, the most dangerous thing, which is difficult, Sri Gaur Prabhu also mentioned multiple times, is hankering for the fame, which is very difficult to beat. And everything else like lust and all can be gradually eliminated by chanting. But when we are in the spiritual path, that hankering for the fame, which has to be strictly avoided. And the fourth cause, which is the root cause for all the causes of lack of taste, it is doing the offenses. Out of 10 offenses, the two offenses which were highlighted in the book, one is like, blaspheming the devotees. And we know Lord, how particular he is about, even you blaspheme him versus you blaspheme, because many people blasphemed Supreme Lord. But then out of compassion, because they are taking the holy name in enviousness, still he has given, the liberation for Shishupala and even Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, for these. But he never leave anybody who try to harm his devotees. And you know the story of Ambarish Maharaj. And we know the story of Prahlad Maharaj. Just to fulfill Prahlad Maharaj's word, that this Vishnu is spread everywhere. So just to fulfill, the Nrsimha avatar has spread everywhere in the world, in the entire universe, in the movable, unmovable, because this wicked Hiranyakashipu can ask anything and come from anywhere. So just to fulfill the devotee's word, he has spread everywhere, and then he protected. And so many such stories which inspires us and instill this faith on the holy name. And the last one is getting rid of all these inattentive chanting. Inattentiveness is the biggest enemy. So it is very important that we pay extreme attention to the holy name. And there are so many aparadhas which were mentioned in the book. So coming to little few practical tips in next 5 minutes. So for me, I don't know how to pray other than chanting the verses. So I always feel amazed, and I am having a lot of ecstasy whenever I study Bhagavad Gita. How Supreme Lord has strung all these verses like a pearl so systematically. So I always remember that verse number 7.14, Daivi Hesha Gunamai Mammaya Duratyaya Mame Vaye Prapadyamte Maya Metam Tarantite. So it is Krishna only created that divine and his external energy, that three modes of material nature. He's divine energy. At the same time, he has created the living entity. Every time he is giving two paths: either come to approach Krishna or go in the flood of Maya. So, and only when you surrender to the Lord, you can overcome this Maya, because otherwise the influence of three modes is so strong and it is very difficult to overcome by any other means. Similarly, the 14.26 says that only by Ananya Bhakti we can transcend these three modes and will be able to situate in the pure mode of goodness. Like that, many verses in 14.2 says that idanyānam upasritya mama sadhamyam agataha sarge pinopijayante pralayena vyadhanti cha. When you take the shelter of this knowledge related to the three modes, understand the three modes as it is, understand the three modes as the divine energy, external divine energy of Supreme Lord. And once you take surrender to Supreme Lord, then you will not be disturbed at the time of Prabhava and at the time of Pralaya, at the time of creation, at the time of annihilation. So, and then there are like my favorite verses, so many favorite verses like Aham Sarvasya Prabho, Matta Parataram Nanyat Kinchidasti Dhananjaya, Manmanabha Mad Bhakto. So many instructions, so many instructions. Just remember all those instructions as much as you can throughout the day, no matter whether it is time, place, and situation. And before approaching Japa, you remember that. Then you will keep that greatness of Lord in our heart. And then hear about the transcendental pastimes of Lord from the pure devotee. This is very important. I started understanding why it is so, because our association with the three modes all the time, the rest of the 22 hours, no matter whether you want or not. But when we do this spiritual practice, when we hear from the people who are in the pure mode of goodness, who transcended the three modes, and the Supreme Lord himself is free from three modes. He is beyond the karmic reactions, and he is beyond the three modes, and which is Bhagavatam. So when we hear Bhagavatam, which is transcendental, all about Supreme Lord, who is transcended, who is beyond the three modes, and if the devotee spreads that message, if we hear from the devotee, it comes like a fragrance. And just So it comes like a fragrance, and that particular fragrance is like a nectar. That nectar, if we drink with our ears, then what happens is it destroys the forgetfulness of Krishna, and it establishes us fully in the remembrance of Krishna. So hearing from the pure devotee is very important. This is something we have to practice. And then with that full gratitude, hearing from the devotee, and then with full gratitude, with the full mood of gratitude for everything what Krishna has done for us, desirable or undesirable, because of our prarabdha. So there is no choice to escape from our prarabdha, but take every opportunity to thank Krishna for that situation. And he creates undesirable situations to make sure that our dependency on Krishna increases. So he creates all undesirable circumstances to make sure that our faith on Krishna becomes multifolded, and we take more strong on devotional path. So with this, and with understanding all the offenses, when we chant the holy name, and if without doing this, it is like very mechanical. If we do this, at least I see some of the days it is really engrossed in Krishna's thoughts, and then I relish the chanting. But some days it doesn't happen, because there is one or other defect in this particular practices. And the prayer, the most important prayer, Radhashyam Prabhu has highlighted, again the gopis are the ultimate devotees. There are no one, other than Brajvasis, there are no pure devotees. Actually, this is from my understanding in the literature, other than the glories of some of the devotees. But at that time, it is always the Brajvasis. So they say that, we are not yogis who always, keep the try to realize Paramatma and keep Paramatma within the heart. We are all samsaris and fully absorbed in the material activities. At the same time, we have a lot of attraction towards you. And nevertheless, irrespective of our qualification, you are very kind and living with us in Vrindavan. May your lotus feet and pure love always awakened in our heart. This prayer is very relevant to us also. At least they have that pure love. At least I don't have that. But irrespective of eligibility, so we have to pray based on our situation. So the last tip, what Radhesham Prabhu has highlighted in his Japa Talk, so is like training the three faculties: mind, senses, and intelligence. So if you look at, every faculty has its own strengths and energies. So the senses, if you look at, the eyes can see and the ears can hear. They can hear good and bad. But what Radhesham Prabhu mentioned is, utilize these senses, the strength of all the senses, and dovetail to Krishna. So, for example, senses, we will be seeing, we'll be observing so many things during the day, but as much as possible, try to look at, keep something which is in front of you, the photo of the Lord. Similarly, the ears, we should use it to hear only the transcendental glories from the pure devotee, nothing else. And the tongue and the mouth for, the chanting the holy name and taking only Krishna Prasadam. I'm not practicing some of those things, but I'm just saying, I felt it makes sense, and it's also scientific. So, because the tongue is the main culprit for our devotional service, and also it can be a friend the way we train that. And then also he said, the eyes, and then the all senses, action senses, should be used in the service of Supreme Lord. And during that, and then he also mentioned the mind, it always dwells from the future to the past and the present. So at the present, it will always have that sankalpa vikalpa, the fight between those two. In the past, all material things which didn't happen. So Radhesham Prabhu said, you just have think about, I couldn't perform proper devotional service in the past. I should have done better service in that particular event. So we should always think about Krishna, dovetail that to Krishna, and then in the current, what we like and what we dislike. So that likes and dislikes also should be, anything is favorable for Krishna consciousness, accept; anything not favorable, reject like a poison. And similarly, the last one, like the anxiety, always have the future anxiety, like how I will attain the ultimate love of Godhead. So don't have any other anxiety, just have that one anxiety. And the third one he said is about the intelligence. Intelligence is very powerful. It is, it does a lot of analysis, it drives the resolutions, and it compares, contrasts. So use the intelligence to pick the verses from Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and then try to contemplate on those verses throughout the day whenever you find time, while driving, while eating. So no time for that. So train your intelligence. So finally, the most profound thing what I liked about it is, he said, drive with all these three faculties by engaging towards Krishna. Drive your complete consciousness to the situation. Vasudeva Sarvamitihi. So he has quote that verse, Vasudeva Paro Veda, Vasudeva Paramakha, Vasudeva Para Yoga, Vasudeva Para Kriyaha, Vasudeva Param Jnanam, Vasudeva Param Tapaha, Vasudeva Paro Dharmo, Vasudeva Paragatihi. So from all Vedas, Vasudeva to be known, we have the verse 15.15, Sarvasya chaham hrudi sannivisto. Okay, Vedaischa sarvai rahameva vedyo. And all the sacrifices, Paramakha means from all the sacrifices. Krishna said that in verse number 9.24, Aham sarva yajnanam bhokta cha prabhu evacha. He is the supreme enjoyer of all he is Yajnapati. So there is undoubtedly, we know after studying Bhagavad Gita. So from all the yajnas, we have to understand only Krishna. And then from all the yogic practices, right, the ultimate yogi is the one, yoginam api sarvesham, who always keeps Krishna within the heart and then try to realize Vishnu within the heart. And the purpose of all the prescribed duties, parakriyaha. So all the prescribed duties, obligatory duties, prescribed duties, we have to perform and offer everything to the lotus feet of Supreme Lord Vasudeva. And the param jnanam is Vasudeva sarvamiti. Even the jnani ultimately have to, after so many births, he will realize that Vasudeva is everything. And Vasudeva param tapaha. Out of all austerity, we have to attain the darshan of Supreme Lord Vasudeva like Dhruva Maharaj did. And out of all dharmas, the supreme dharma is Sarvadharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Saranam Rajaham Tva Sarvapapebhyo Mokshayishyam Masuchaha. Surrendering, getting rid of all these dharmas, surrendering to the lotus feet of Supreme Lord is the ultimate dharma. And Vasudeva Paragatihi. So Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is the ultimate shelter. So there is nothing beyond the lotus feet of Supreme Lord what we should be attaining. So by training all these faculties, especially intelligence, if the intelligence is convinced with this and with the proper mode and avoiding all the offenses, if we do the chanting, the purification will take express path. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Shanmukh Prabhuji. It was very comprehensive and deep, I would say. It covered a wide range, I would say end to end. At the same time, it was very deep. Really amazing Japa Talk. Thank you very much, Shanmukh Prabhuji. And it shows, how much love you have for these things, the scriptures and also the holy name, the various references which you have given, and how melodiously and with full taste you recited the Shikshastakam verse. Actually, that touches the heart. Thank you very much, Shanmukh Prabhuji. I want to open the floor for further comments or any questions if you have for Shanmukh Prabhuji. So I see that devotees have understood it, because as I said, it was very comprehensive, nicely explained. Okay, you want to be unmuted. Just a second. Allow participants to unmute. Okay, now I think so you should be able to unmute yourselves.
Hare Krishna Guru Pranam. I was trying to mute, but it was not. Thank you, Shanmugam Prabhu. After a long time, could meet you virtually. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu. Yes, very nicely you have summarized all the maybe Japa Talk which we may be hearing from last 6 months. But again, the same question is, yes, we knew, we are coming to know every time, we are hearing every time what are the things, what are the aparadhas we do, what we should avoid. But still, we do that aparadhas, maybe knowingly, unknowingly. And then our bhakti is not increasing at the way it should have been. So what can we do in that? Matlab, how still beat the mind, or matlab, what to do? Like what you said today is everything we have been hearing, we are trying to adhere to, but still we do some aparadhas maybe by chanting in the morning. The mind goes away somewhere and then we have to pull it back. And then again, these aparadhas are done intentionally, unintentionally. So how do we come out of it? You're on mute, Prabhu. I think you're on mute.
Not eligible to answer the question, but all I understand is just keeping that greatness alone of Krishna and all these verses all the time with me, and they will for anything. At least for me, Bhagavatam is new and trying, but some of these holy name glorification verses, anytime we lose track, we have to remember those verses and constantly in smaran of those verses. And from Bhagavad Gita, every time, whenever we are in a situation or when we are like losing the taste, there will be one verse or two verses will come in front of us. So I personally think the association of three modes, Prabhuji, everything we associate around us is three modes, and that is the culprit. And we have to hear Bhagavatam as much as possible from the Srila Prabhupada or any other pure devotees who has realization to that level. I can't think of anything other than hearing the transcendental pastimes from the transcendental devotees. So I think I can answer only this much, Prabhu. I don't have much of.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you. We'll keep on trying. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Kapil Prabhu, you have any comment or question?
Prabhuji, Dhanwad Pranam, Prabhuji, very good.
Prabhuji, your voice is feeble, or I am not able to hear.
Okay, I will then put it on this thing. I'll remove the speaker, just hold on.
So there are many comments there, Prabhuji.
Yeah, I will just
on
try
the
to
chat for you.
Is it better now? I'll speak a bit louder.
Yeah, it is. We are able to hear now.
Close, I was trying to relate to what Vikas Prabhuji was asking or telling us that, we are such kind of elephant that we go and wash in the pond of Hare Krishna, come back and we put the sand on us daily. So I think that Shishtastakam thing, that we have to clean ourselves, clean our hearts, right? That is, I think, already mentioned in the Shishtastakam that we need to keep our hearts very clean, Prabhuji. So maybe you want to add something to that, I was just trying to kind of add to the
So
point.
I think of we would have acted in the influence of three modes over so many millions of births. So every action has reaction, and it stores some impressions in our chitta. So we should not be too, we should be hopeful, but we should not be too greedy. It is not just because it happened recently or yesterday. Every day it happens, and it has happened over so many millions of births. So we have to keep that one consciousness in mind. And whenever few times I interacted with Burjan Das Prabhu, anything we ask for any instruction, he says, take the shelter of holy name. And
Yes.
in the knowledge, that is what he was saying in the second Sikshastakam verse. If the philosophy is not there, if we don't have that deeper knowledge and take the holy name, generally we will time to time lose the taste, and we don't even understand why we lose the taste. So that awareness of losing taste and why we lose the taste and why we could not chant properly, even that knowledge itself will help us to bring us back to the track. And of course,
Yeah.
our spiritual master's grace is the highest. If I can tell you, it is because of that I'm here, at least to talk on this subject. And I told Sri Gaur Prabhu, this is one subject where I am very weak.
Yeah. Told you the seamless analog again, ABCD, I think that association, book reading, chanting, and devotee association. I think these are all the, ingredients of keeping the heart clean, right? That is what I understand. So I was just trying to, reiterate. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Yesterday, I was reading a book by Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj, and it was talking about knowledge. And it said that knowledge of God is very important. But even Duryodhana and Kansa kind of had knowledge about God. So the difference is that knowledge of God can develop love in a heart, and it can also develop fear in some hearts. So the difference is, if you have humility in your heart, the knowledge will transform into love.
Wonderful.
But if you have pride in your heart, then the knowledge will transform into fear. So this is something which also, so when we are chanting, we have to chant with gratitude so that we develop love. And for that, humility is at most required. That is why what Shanmukh Prabhu was highlighting, again and again, that third verse of Shikshastakam, that humility, component of humility is so important.
Right, Prabhu. Yeah, Prabhuji. Thank you for making me understand this in deeper sense. Yeah.
Kapil Prabhu, you already know everything. Nothing unknown to you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We are not able to practice. We are not able to practice. That's the main challenge. We know it, but we don't practice a lot.
Shanmukh Prabhuji already shared power of association and importance.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So thank you very much, Shanmukh Prabhuji. Thank you. Really,
so
really
much,
indebted to you for
Prabhuji.
such a
Thank you
wonderful.
very much, all Vaishnavas. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha
Hare Krishna.
pattanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namah. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Shanmukh
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna, Prabhuji.
yeah.
Dandavat pranam. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Thank you.